Well, I just think it's funny because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's something that I miss personally because when I grew up in punk rock, there was a large component of it that was social. You know what I mean? It wasn't just about a band being big and selling records. It was about like exchanges of ideas, sort of this open forum, and and I think that's gotten lost a lot. You know what I mean? I think a lot of bands are sort of looking for the fastest point to become a big band.
Right.
And like just careerism, I feel like isn't something that needs to be in punk rock at all because it's everywhere else in America. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can't have a counterculture if it's just the small version of the big culture. You know what I mean? That's just like subculture. It's the same as the mainstream. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, like punk rock should be a place where we have other points of view. You know what I mean?
Right, where there's like an open discussion
Yeah.
about different things. Do you think it's real important then that the members of bands be educated about different things if you're going to have different points of view? Or is it...
Yeah, I mean,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
See how
I do.
mean?
I do. I feel like this is the thing, is I feel like when the air of the whole thing has something to do with politics and activism and like social justice and things like that, that it's not even about like an education. It's something that like everybody's constantly interested in, right? And so you don't have to go and like find out about it on your own. You can have discussions with people who give you their ideas and other people give you other ideas, you know what I mean? And people are writing about it in scenes and stuff like that. It's how it was, you know what I mean?
Right.
But where it just is kind of like, it's just a part of it, you know what I mean? You go to a show and you get to take $1 off if you bring canned food, you know what I mean? Just stuff, little things like that where it's like integrated into every aspect of it. And I think that was a really great thing for punk rock, and I think that when it continues to be that way, it's still really healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like a kids these days type of thing, because I know that there are like more extreme versions of what we were doing going on right now. You know what I mean? There are bands out there that are still as true as they ever were. You know what I mean? Like Thursday's never been as punk as Propaganda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it's still out there. I just feel like it's not like an accepted part of the overall punk culture.
Right. And do you think a lot of that has to do with increased awareness of punk culture, like things like Warped Tour, you know, and then you've got like the MySpace and the internet sort of just making everything accessible all the time. You don't have to go to the show, you don't have to do any of that stuff anymore to be a part of the scene.
Yeah, I feel that, except I kind of feel like it's like that all could have been a part of it too. You know what I mean? I think a band like Rise Against gets bigger and brings their ideals with them is like a cool thing. But I feel like along the way, a lot of bands found themselves like being like, oh well, if we just let go of this idea and this idea and this idea, then we can go to the next level.
Right.
And I think that those things like that just keep getting discarded. They're not like additional things. They're essential things that are being lost.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know that I've seen it. And the reason that I thought to write something about it in particular then is because I had seen the ways that some of the choices that we had made through Thursday had let go of some of the things that I think were important. And they're just small things. You don't feel it slipping away. I think it's really important to take stock and say like, well, this is what we are doing. This is what we could be doing. You know what I mean? We could be doing something more all-inclusive that has more social awareness, that has just an overall better feeling to it because it has more ideas, more thoughts, different points of view, you know, different cultures. So yeah, it was just something that I was thinking about a lot. It wasn't meant to condemn anybody or tell the new bands that they're idiots because they don't know anything about politics or social justice or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's not meant to condemn anything, just saying that like I feel like it was like 2 or 3 generations of the same scene and it was just completely gone from it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like things, and I think it's like little transmutations, you know what I mean? Like having the first wave of like sort of dancey punk bands be the bands that were like incorporating elements of electronica, like, you know, bands like Mile Marker were starting to go over into electronica, bands like QAnon were going into like dance music, and these are all like just underground punk bands. And then the next layer of bands like just started with the electronics, right? And they still had some like political messages and stuff. And then like the third wave after that just like completely even forgot that it ever started in punk. And punk rock has become less about a counter culture, something different, than it is more about the mainstream that you can touch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, they're playing the same music as like NSYNC or something like that, you know, but I can go to their shows and meet them, hang out with them, get drunk with them, maybe have sex with them, whatever. Like whatever your interest in being able to touch them, approach them. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not about offering something different, counter, and maybe more dangerous. It's about offering the exact same thing, only you can come and hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
And I think that approachability is still a really essential thing for like the punk rock world. Like I think the feeling that people have that it's not rock stars, and you know what I mean? Because I think that's always been an important thing for me, is like to break down that mythical barrier of like the golden gods of rock.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I remember seeing Fugazi and playing, like getting to Fort Reno Park early and just ending up playing frisbee with them because they were just guys hanging out. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like Fugazi just hang out. They're not rock stars. They're not hanging out backstage. You know what I mean? Weird sometimes, but I think like if you just try and be like as real as possible with everybody that you meet, it makes it easier. You know what I mean? Like I'll run into like kids on the subway in New York, where I live in Brooklyn now, and I run into kids on the subway that are like, oh my god, it can't be you, you're riding the subway. Why are you riding the subway? And I'm like, I ride the subway, you know? And after like 3 stops, we're not even talking about Thursday, we're talking about like, you know, whatever, Catholic school, if they go to, you know what I mean? Just something totally different, like whatever. And they get off the train and maybe, you know, maybe I've deflated their idea that I'm a rock star. Who knows, maybe they liked me better when I was a rock star. But I still think that that's like, it's better. It's better when people are just like, tons of times people come up to me nervous, sweating, shaking, and by the end of the conversation they're like, cool, see you around. And I think that's a really good thing. Like, why have these ridiculous barriers? You know what I mean?
Right. Do you think, I mean, you almost wonder in some ways, does a label like Island want to build that barrier?
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. For sure. I think that barrier sells. You know what I mean? I think larger than life sells. I think dreams, like manifesting your dreams and escaping into them, imagining that you're 10 feet tall and untouchable. You know what I mean? Because that's part of it. When you listen to a band that, you know, has a charismatic, you know, singer or whatever, you imagine that could be me. You know, like he's singing my feelings, so maybe he's untouchable. Maybe I could be untouchable. Maybe, you know, pain won't hurt me anymore. I'll write this all out. You know what I mean? It's sort of wish fulfillment. So that definitely sells. At the same time, like, in my own personal way, like, I'd like to break that down and have it be something different. I'd like to have it be like, no, I don't have to be him, I can be me. You know what I mean? The kid that listens to us, I can be me, I can write my own songs, and I can go do something special. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than, like, having an unattainable dream.